So I've got my little character doing a little walk cycle. What I'm going to do now is open up this composition and add another couple of properties to my Essential Graphics panel to control my character. Now the first thing I need is something to make the character move along the screen. I can actually just use the transform position value, but that would put two values up here, an X value and a Y value. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to add a new null layer, and this is going to be my controller layer. So we'll call it controller. What I'm going to do is create a slider that only controls the X value of position so that we don't have to worry about the Y value. To do that, I'm going to add expression controls slider control, and I'm going to call it character X position. And then I'm going to add an expression to my position value. Now you'll notice that when I do that, I lose the expression controller. So I'm going to select controller again and just lock that so that it doesn't disappear when I select this layer. And then I'm going to grab my expression from the slider property. So basically I've now got this slider controlling the X and the Y position, which is not what I want because then I get diagonal movement like that. So what I need to do is separate this. I've already got the variable temp in there. I'm going to replace that with X. So X equals the slider value. And then what I'm going to do is replace the word temp with X. And then for the Y value, I'm just going to say value 1, which represents the Y value. And when I activate that, you'll see now that as I adjust the slider, I get the character moving across the screen, but I don't have to worry about the Y value. So it's a really nice way of being able to control axes independently. I'm just going to drag that slider in here and I'm going to call it character X position. It's nice to simplify things like this. You can also add a range. So I could say, okay, what's my range of movement? So we could do it from 100 to 1920. And now the character can move up to a value of 1920. Now I actually want it to go down to 0 because when we nest this in the other comp, we're going to want to add values below 100. This is really good because if you're exporting this as a motion graphics template, it means that people in Premiere Pro can't extend the values outside the range that you specify. So it gives you a bit of control over the look and feel of your template. So that's how you can add a slider to control the position value. You can also add restrictive sliders for these properties. So instead of just putting in the front arm rotation value, we can link the front arm rotation value to a slider. And I'm going to open up a project where I've already done that. In this project, I've replaced the values that were returned by the rotation value of the body in the front arm with a slider value that controls the body and the front arm. So all I've done there is I've created a front arm slider, and then in the front arm rotation property, I've added an expression which links to that controller. So now that controller is controlling the rotation of the front arm. So now I've got a range of motion between -90 and 45 for the arm. It means that someone opening my motion graphics template won't be able to extend the arm beyond that range. I've also added a couple of other items in there, bounce height and a bounce speed, and we'll have a look at that later in the expressions section. But if we have a look at the finished result, you'll see that there's a little bit of bounce in there as well. Now in the next movie, we're going to time some animation to that bounce using the graph editor.